Hi, I'm Judith Dreyer. Thank you for joining me for this podcast series, The Holistic Nature of Us. I invite you to journey with me into a better understanding of the concepts behind our holistic nature and how that ties us directly to the natural world around us. My intention is to be your guide for this half hour as we begin seeing our world with fresh eyes, gaining more understanding and learning how we can connect the dots in practical ways that we are nature and nature's in us. I feature a broad range of guests deeply concerned about the environmental issues of our time and more. Authors and educators, practitioners and others whose passion for this earth and for all species helps us create sustainable bridges of understanding. These folks are innovators, action-oriented, creating solutions in a variety of ways that honors us and the planet's holistic nature. I am honored to share their stories, their projects, and their passion with all of you. And today I'm delighted to introduce you to Christopher Salem. Chris is a highly authentic person who for over 4 years has had a special passion for empowering and serving business leaders, entrepreneurs in various industries, sales executives, coaches, authors, speakers, and others, taking their business and life to another level. For many years, Chris has seen people aspiring to make changes and grow, but struggled at different phases of their career and life. He is just like you and I, a regular person that has faced similar struggles. Chris shares from experience what has worked successfully through hard work and dedication to help in your challenges. He also delivers world-class content to audiences as a speaker that is high impact, which shifts people toward positive action. And the focus is on the root cause that leads to change and results, thus moving the audience towards improving their business and personal life. So Chris, I'm delighted to have you here today. And it's my pleasure and honor to have this discussion with you. For my listeners, I've been a guest on Chris's show, Sustainable Success on Voice America, and that got me thinking about a holistic approach to business and business models so that we want to go to work, that we feel engaged, that we feel prosperous at work. And I think Chris has a lot of insight to shed on that aspect. So welcome, Chris.
Judith, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, how about if you tell us a little bit about yourself and what prompted you to become an influencer?
So, I mean, a little background about myself. I've been in, for most of my career, I had spent in sales. So I had learned to really understand people, the ability to relate and listen to understand. But what led me to becoming an influencer was not just the ability to relate and understand people and what they truly were seeking for themselves, but was learning from my own experience, and it was not a pleasant one. But by going through this experience, I was able to really truly find myself and know that I could go from a place of limited beliefs to limitless beliefs that would shape me into the influencer that I am today, which I then show people how to do for themselves. So it was my personal experience growing up, a very angry young man. And due to the fact that I didn't have a strong connection with my father, and as a result of that, I didn't know at the time that was the case. I just knew that I was angry, and this led to a lot of bad decisions, in terms of getting involved with the wrong people, picking people to work with and working for that ended up disappointing me, just like my father did, but knowing that I had a part in it, not at the time, but knowing that later. And once I was able to turn around and recognize that, that I had to take responsibility for my own life, and that these limited beliefs played a big role in keeping me where I was at, I was able to make a lot of changes by adopting new habits and disciplines that became patterns that over time allowed me to become the person that I always wanted to be and was supposed to be. And as a result of that, it allowed me to grow into an influencer role, that it allowed me to be the example, empower others to do the same in their businesses, in their homes, and also in their communities.
You have an incredible story. I've heard Chris talk. I've listened to some of his messages on his website, and it's a tough story because you had to go on the inner journey, and that's where true growth occurs from all the reading I've done, whether it's Eastern traditions, modern traditions, and certain people that I deeply admire, like Carolyn Myss, Jean Houston, Marianne Williamson, they're movers and shakers out there for inner growth. But it's not an easy path, is it, Chris?
No, it's not. And it's one of the things but it should not be avoided, because if someone is looking to truly operate at another level in their life and business, there are no shortcuts. If you want to put a Band-Aid on things, you can, but it's not going to get better than where you're at. It might short-term maybe make a difference, but not long-term. The key is to get out of the problem into the solution, and know that by adopting the right habits, disciplines, and attitude, you'll have the ability to go through any struggle or setback and really come out ahead at the next level, whatever that means to you.
Right. And so you take this message and you talk to a lot of companies, big and small. Could you tell us a little bit about that and examples of how this is applied in the business model?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of, I speak at different size organizations, from as little as, it could be as little as 20 people and as big as thousands of people, anywhere in between, because again, it's about people. And when you think about people are coming in, they're bringing their personal lives into business, whether if they want to believe that or not. And companies many times don't really understand that. And as a result of that, that has an impact on what happens in the workplace. And so if, the way that companies can find out why things are not working is that perhaps workplace communications is not where they want it to be. Employee engagement is not where they want it to be. They're not as efficient or productive. Sales are down. Company morale is down. Communication is off. Whatever the case may be, all of these can be always tied back to people. It's not just managers or the way the company's set up. Those obviously have a part, but it always comes down to the people and what the people are doing and what they bring into their roles each and every day. And then it's how companies use people, whether if they're using them, in the right way or the wrong way. So the key is to really address this from the inside out. And then we use a term called emotional intelligence at the company level to go about doing this.
I'd love you to tell us more about emotional intelligence. I think you're right. Having worked in the world, in various jobs, we do bring what we are. And if you have a funeral to go to that day or that week, or somebody close to you passes away, that rubs off on us in some fashion, no matter how focused we feel we are with our work. But you're looking at some more deeper issues. If sales are off, a company can go under. If morale is off, production's not going to be good. So you're really looking at some deeper issues within a company and trying to figure out where to find the solution. So emotional intelligence is one of those factors, correct?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, most companies base their decisions upon making changes based upon intellectual intelligence. This is based upon trends, stats, data, and that's important, but yet in itself is not the answer long term. That if a company is truly looking to make a transition to play at a whole new level over time, and to make that one that is sustainable to weather any setbacks or challenges in their industry, they have to look at the intellectual or the emotional intelligence side as well. And that's oftentimes they don't do that because there isn't that evidence that they're looking for. And the only way that you're going to find the evidence is if actually you go in with the faith, knowing that in time that you're going to see these subtle changes with people, and then that's going to spread even to more people, and so on and so on. Because when people become the example of something good, become the example of delivering value and coming from a different mindset, one from a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, that they have the ability to influence others to do the same for themselves, whether they're not even conscious to it or not. It's happening subconsciously. Now, if a company is able to embrace this and be able to really create awareness and let people know that this is not an overnight thing, this takes time. It's a process. But yet the fruits of engaging this process and committing to it long-term can provide drastic changes for the good in productivity, efficiency, company morale, and overall what companies do in terms of revenue. It's huge. But yet they have to believe and they have to commit to a process. It's just like a gymnast that becomes a gold medalist. It's not like he or she became a gold medal gymnast in a couple weeks and that they practiced. No, this was over a period of time. And companies have to recognize there are no short-term fixes. And if they are looking at short-term fixes, they are going to be, here and there, and they're not going to last. That if they're looking to do it right, making the investment up front and committing to the process long-term will save them large amounts of money and time in the long run to do things right. And this will lower onboarding expenses. This will produce more profit and create better efficiency and communication within the organization.
Yeah, I hear you. You must have some great stories about how these your process has been applied to a business. Can you give us an example?
Yeah, for instance, I've worked with some real estate offices in terms of sales, and the ability to recognize that certain things that real estate offices were doing, they were offering a lot of sales training, right?
Right.
But they weren't really focusing on the mindset. So you're always going to have, maybe out of 20 people, you're going to have 2 or 3 that are going to be, that are producing 80% of your revenue. The other, 17 people are doing the other 20%. But if we're able to help raise that percentage with those 3 or 4 people, and then also raise the percentage of those 17 people, then overall that's going to add a significant difference to their bottom line. So the key is to recognize, what these people, what mindset are they in? What are they bringing to the table? How are they communicating not only with themselves but with each other and their customers? What types of beliefs that limit them are getting in the way with them connecting with more people or communicating better with their colleagues? And seeing more opportunities around them rather than only a few, because they're really not seeing the bigger picture. So these are all the things that I've done for real estate offices and have now begun to do for larger corporations, because I've been speaking now for the last few years in companies where they've heard about it, they've heard the awareness, and now are starting to say, yeah, we get it. So now we're in the process of now making those changes for certain organizations that see the bigger picture.
That's really interesting. I have a couple of thoughts or questions for you on this level. My experience in the real estate industry is they want you to work 24/7, and I truly don't agree with that model.
Yep.
And I don't think that that's a very productive model in the long run, though. When you have a sale, you've got to get the job done. I get that. So how do you change that 24/7 model, which doesn't include time for self, for family, for recreation, and it's just work, work, work? How do you find that has shifted with these?
Yeah, so the way that you have to shift is when you shift from a fixed to a growth mindset. You learn over time consistently when you're using certain things like meditation and journaling. You learn how to be more present in the moment. And when you incorporate habits and disciplines like meditation and journaling, and you learn how to be more present, you have the ability to have more clarity. And when you have more clarity, you become more decisive. And when you become more decisive, you could follow through with massive action. People that have clarity or have a clear or growth mindset also recognize they have to have a strategy or a plan to implement. So by having a plan, they're able to, go over whatever priorities or tasks that matter or most important. They're able to address those first, other than just things that just keep them busy. So this way, they're able to be more focused in the moment. They're not multitasking. They're addressing one task at a time that's most important, that yields revenue for their businesses, and they're able to get more done in a shorter period of time than the other way around. So they're not busy, but they're productive. There's a big difference. And most people, unfortunately, are busy but not productive. This is why when you see the guy on the golf course that's out there every day, whether the weather's nice, is because that person is more focused. They're able to get more things done in a shorter period of time because they're laser focused, versus the other way around where they are maybe busy but they're not focused. So that's a big difference. Being present and having a specific detailed strategy or plan is the difference between getting more done and finding balance. And then there's also the 8 pillars of wellness. And that is both on a personal and business level, that there's never going to be perfect balance. But if we can strike balance between the 8 pillars of wellness, social, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, occupational, intellectual, and environmental, we have the ability now to not only be present through being through mindfulness, but the ability then to also create a life around what we do. You know what I mean? So it's not, we're not working, our life doesn't revolve around our work. Our work revolves around how we create our life. So we're able to find time to do the things we love to do, that take care of ourselves, to be examples for others to do the same. And during the times that we're dedicated to, selling homes or listing homes, we're able to get more done in a short period of time. So we could strike that balance. And there's always going to be give or take. There are going to be some cases where you might have to give a little bit more to the business than the personal side. But yeah, in the long run, you're kind of there like a seesaw. You're just teetering on that axis point, and that's where you want to be.
Well, also, I would think too that happy people who are seeing success are going to create a culture that's got an uplifting value and quality to it instead of drudgery. So let's go back to businesses where people don't want to go to work. They just don't like going to work. And then we hear another part of the spectrum for companies such as Google, where you can have a 5-star restaurant to go to work to and have lunch with every day, and there's a dry cleaner there, and there's daycare there, and you can play tennis if you want to. How does that fit into the sustainable model?
Well, it's all necessary because, again, we have to have, it's like the yin and the yang, right? In order to have, strike balance, we have to have somewhat of a balance. There's never going to be perfect balance. But yet, if we have the ability to have, through a growth mindset, to be laser focused on the things that matter in the moment, we have the ability to get a lot of things done. So this means that when we are working out, or we're going for a walk, or we're spending time with our spouse or our children, we're not thinking about work. We're not in the past and the future. We're in the moment, enjoying that moment. We're engaged and focused just on that moment. Then maybe an hour later, you might be at your desk because you got to do something for work. And then during that time, that's what you're doing. You're not focusing on your wife, your husband, your kids. You're just focused on what has to be done at that time. So for a lot of people, that's hard to do because they're always in the past and the future. And what happens in the past is it brings up fear. Fear triggers stress. Then that fear then projects itself into the future. That becomes a level of anxiety. And depending upon that level of anxiety, that produces procrastination. This is what keeps people stuck in certain patterns that do not serve them or others. But by learning how to be present, we have the ability to offset that fear in the past, also in the future, and to be able to get more things done. Even though we see the bigger picture, we're only committed to what has to get done at that moment. We're not worried about what we have to do tomorrow, what happened yesterday, what has to get done next week. We just are committed to what we have to do right now, and then move and stay in that moment, focused on what we have to do. That's the key. The success is found within the process, not in the outcome itself.
I think that's a very important point to make. Success is found in the process. I know for me that was like a light bulb that went off, and this year in particular I've been very focused on my process in order to reach the goals that I'd like to reach this year, and I have found it really helpful because it helps me be more, I don't know if commitment's the right word, but helps me be more focused each day, and I feel good at the end of the day. I know there's countless suggestions out there on how to do it, how to set up your day, blah, 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 the day planners, that kind of thing. But some of these tools really keep us on track.
Correct. These are things that, again, when you have certain habits and disciplines like meditation and journaling are going to be so important to get to the root cause of your limited beliefs. That's the problem. They're also going to be critical every day to do while you create your solution and have a specific detailed plan to follow for your life and business for the rest of your life. It's those habits or disciplines that serve you that are going to build your success foundation, and then also allow you to sustain and maintain your business and your personal life at another level. This allows people to grow their net worth. This allows people to be happier with themselves, to give more to others without expectation, to receive more without resistance, and to grow their businesses. And it takes people to grow businesses. Yes, artificial intelligence and automation are great, but in itself are not going to be the answer. Obviously, we see what automation has done to the service industry. It's made things worse than it's made things better. It's people that make the difference. And if we can produce people that they can still be who they are, focus on their strengths, and really operate from within the solution that comes from within, that when we put these people together in a room, one, that they're not codependent upon one another, but they're interdependent, you're going to see more things get done. It's going to be more efficient, more productive. There's going to be a higher morale and better communications. These are all the results of an interdependent environment rather than a codependent that you find with people that are in a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset.
I think it's exciting. I know there's some folks out there in my family that are running businesses, and I'm just so proud of them for the positive spin they put on things, which doesn't mean they're not tackling the issues at the time, but there's an expectation that everyone is going to contribute in a way, and then there's a reward, and I'm seeing some very good results with a couple of these businesses. Not only that, but I'm also seeing that some businesses actually spend time in teaching good leadership skills. And as far as I'm concerned, everything that you've mentioned and all these other attributes are spokes on a wheel, the holistic wheel that gets us to sustainability, so that we like going to work again. We like working with each other. We like sharing with each other. There's excitement there again, instead of, quite frankly, drudgery.
Yes, I agree.
Chris, could you tell us something about your book, and then we can end with 3 tips, if you have 3 practical tips to give our listeners?
Yes, the name of my book is called Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. Again, the book outlines my journey from getting out of the problem into the solution, but also lets people know how they can embrace a process that will allow them to find the answers from within to their problems, as well as the solution. That anything that, if you're looking to get to the next level in your life and business, that the solution is not outside of you, it's within you. And when people have the ability to go within to get out of the problem into the solution, when they come together, that great things can happen as people that operate from this type of mindset. So the key is to kind of look at it like a manufacturing line. You can produce widgets that have bottlenecks. That's the problem. But yet they're not going to be as efficient. They're not going to be as the best of quality, but you can still produce. Now, if you were able to remove those bottlenecks, you can now produce at a higher efficiency, the quality's better, and you're able to be more productive and produce more profit. Kind of look at that as the way your life can be and your business when you're able to operate from the solution rather than the problem by going within. So those are the things that you would find in the book that are available, not only in the book, but also in Audible version as well.
And it's a great book. I have it. I've read it. He has some great tips, and the process is outlined. So I highly recommend it to my listeners if they have businesses and they really want to look for solutions from a different perspective. So, Chris, how about 3 tips for our listeners today?
So I would say for the 3 tips for listeners, if you're looking to become an influencer in what you do in your business, or become an influencer in your life, to your family, to the people that are important around you, it's important to recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, to be transparent. But to know that if you're going to be an influencer or make a difference in your life and business, you have to be the example. You have to incorporate certain habits and disciplines that are going to take you to the next level. So 1, it's being aware of where you're at. Number 2, accepting where you are at. And 3, being present and moving forward, not in the problem, but in the solution, to embrace the process to get you where you want to be. So that's really the 3 tips I'd like to leave with people, is awareness, acceptance, and committing to the process to let the process yield the outcome that you desire in the solution.
Oh, that's great, Chris. Thank you very much for that. And how about your contact information before we sign off?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me would be at ChristopherSalem.com. That's ChristopherSalem.com, or at Chris, CHRIS, at ChristopherSalem.com, or you can find me anywhere on social media as well.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I want to thank you again for your time, your expertise, and for your sharing. I'm honored and grateful that you were here today.
Judith, thank you so much for having me. And this is such an important topic that your show conveys to the world. And I wish you much success.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for joining us at The Holistic Nature of Us. I hope you feel as inspired as I do by Christopher Salem, his wisdom, his sharing, and his practical advice. I certainly do. And I want to thank Chris again and my listeners for joining me today. This is Judith Dreyer. I'm the author of At the Gardenscape book and blog. My book is available through my website, which is www.judithdreyer.com, as well as several distribution arms such as Amazon Nook, Goodreads, and more. I'd like to remind all of you that a transcript is available for each podcast. Please like and share them. Let's support each other and get the word out. Remember, now is the time for practical action and profound inner change, so we value our world again. Enjoy your day.